You are tuned in to a Fireside chat with Zany Mystic. Join us now on another exciting metaphysical journey. Relax, tune in, drop out, and take a seat by the fire as we explore new realms and possibilities. This is Magenta Pixie. You can find me at magentapixie.weebly.com. But now, here is Zany Mystic and guest. Enjoy the show.
Good evening and welcome back to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. I'm your host, Lance White. Tonight, I'm delighted to have Jessica Mystic as my guest. Jessica came to my attention through the wonderful video interview done by Project Camelot titled, A Crystal Child Speaks Out. Jessica is a spiritual counselor and mentor. She is also a self-described fairy godmother who travels all over the world looking for fellow star family. She empowers them by letting them know that they are not alone in how they think and see the world. She also helps others remember why they incarnated on the planet at this time. She connects them with others of like mind who have similar missions. Many of us here today are starseed, indigo, crystal, and many other labels, which simply means we're here to help in our own unique ways. So let's welcome Jessica to the show now and get to find out more. Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Hi, Lance. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, I'm curious how you got the name. I'm just going to start out with your name. How did you get the name Mystic?
Well, that was actually when I was trying to figure out an email address for myself, and I was about 14 at the time, or 15, and the word popped in my head, mystic, and I didn't really know what it meant at that time. I thought it meant mysterious, and it sounded really cool, so yeah. I went with it, and little did I know that I was going to become a mystic, or it was something destined. It's really funny how that works, and
yes, and
the fairy godmother. Pardon?
I love that. And
the fairy godmother. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just also, the other title, the fairy godmother, is just kind of when you come into your oneness and your infinite nature, your potential. It's almost like you're a child on Halloween and you're told you can be anything you want. And you're like, anything? Even a purple giraffe? And so a fairy godmother, I feel, is really liberating right now for a lot of people, particularly because I have a strong desire to just nurture the planet, motherly even to my own mother.
Wonderful. And, of course, we both share the same last name, Mystic, so we're in the same family.
That's right.
Okay. For the listeners who might not know as much about indigos and crystals and starseed and walk-ins and the rest of it, I thought maybe we could just talk for a little bit, briefly, about the differences and why this has been documented back now for decades, when it first started happening decades ago, and why we are here at this time.
Okay.
Is that a good starting place?
Yeah.
Because I think that the indigos came in first, didn't they?
Yes, they did. But, we can also, an indigo can also change into a crystal child as well. That's my own personal experience. I found that some indigos, they're the ones that are the system busters, and they incarnate with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They are also, I see, a lot in gangs as well. And that's just, a lot of their anger that they're working towards transmuting. And then once they do, then they go into this unconditional love state. Then they go into crystal, which is basically a merging and balancing of all the chakras.
Okay. And then, of course, stars. Go ahead.
Oh, and I was just thinking about the older generation has been really key in anchoring a certain kind of light and frequency for the planet. It goes right into the core and then right out into the heavens, which is the language of light, which allows the younger souls to incarnate with a lot more conscious memory, not so much in the amnesia veil, and a lot more empowered. It's like the whole of humanity is working as a collective team by each experience that we choose to have. But I just really admire the older generation because, they didn't have internet or things like that. So in the time when it was very taboo, they had to hold this kind of thinking. So I think that's really awesome.
Yes, there's one person in particular, Gerardus, who's in my Yahoo group, and he's in his, I think, 70s, maybe even 80s now, and he awakened about 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's because the people like that were allowed to be on this planet at this time.
Yes, it's quite an honor and a privilege. Now, there are some special abilities that may or may not arise with those labels as well. Is that accurate as you awaken?
Oh, absolutely. Because, it's really interesting because it's very normal in the nature world. It's only paranormal for us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's our birthright. We were born with these special abilities as well, but we never have them really nurtured. Mm-hmm. And so they get suppressed right away, and we get taught, to be very afraid of it as well, because we incarnate with this not very good idea of self and who we are,
Absolutely. So. Absolutely right. And then, of course, there's so many beliefs and taboos. Well, I mean, just a matter of 100 or 200 years ago, they were burning witches at the stake. So there hasn't been much acceptance or tolerance for those who see or think or feel or intuit outside the box.
Yeah, most people have had to hide it and be really clever about how, the best way to hide it and still be true to themselves as well.
Mm-hmm. There was a movie by Spielberg called Contact, and I think that kind of sums up. I mean, that kind of gives you a really good idea of what a crystal child might be like. With the intuitive abilities and just the knowingness and the wisdom. And she was just a little girl, and she also developed some special abilities during the movie. But that was a really good movie for learning about all of this.
It's always just the tip of the iceberg, though. I mean, we're just getting the introduction as to what we're in store for with these new children. It's very important as working as a guide. We, in the 60s, we found that we had to give information and insight a little at a time. Otherwise, they would end up in mental institutions. So it's very important to just have stepping stones, to not be attached to any one belief over the other, so that, they could not be in a box, and so they can feel their infinite nature without, and also being able to live on this planet at this time as well. The balance of the, spirit and matter, grounded and also cosmic.
Mm-hmm. I know that many of them feel that they want to go home and they don't want to be here, and and yet at the soul level we do choose our incarnations, wouldn't you say? At least
yes.
This one, and that we're also guided from that other side by our higher self, or our guides, or whatever you want to call it, our team, to do what we're here to do. Can you elaborate a little bit on what this time period signifies for you and for many of us? It's the end of an age, isn't it? Or the beginning of beginning of a new level of evolution.
Before I get into that, I just wanted to make a quick comment about what you said about a lot of people feeling very homesick right now. Mm-hmm. I really understand how hard it is for you to be here, and how much you want to how much you want to go home as well. But I want you to know that you guys were brought here to bring heaven to earth. Think of you guys as being on a tree, and you're an apple, and you fall to the ground. Now, that apple cannot go back on the branch, cannot go back home, but it can become home. Inside you is the seeds, to bring everything from home here as you create your roots here. So,
That's beautiful.
And this change, where we're at right now, what it means to me, well, it's very, very exciting time to be alive. I mean, the challenges we're facing right now, which seems to be incredibly scary, is also great opportunity for us to rise to the occasion and to alchemy, like I shared in my interview about becoming thinking we're a piece of coal, and then through the heat and the pressure, which can be the Illuminati or anything that brings discord, into becoming a diamond, or, a plant with fertilizer, becoming a really beautiful flower. It's all necessary and needed. It all depends how we react to it, which makes all the difference, because with floods, it's really interesting. I mean, we already know about Dr. Emoto's studies, correct? About the intent and how we can work with water. Well, the majority of the planet is water, and then most of our body is water as well. So there's a great deal we can do as a collective to calm the waters. Right now I'm helping people how to, understand natural disasters and take an earthquake from an 8.7 to a 2.2. Because we can do that with our intent. This stuff does not have to happen. It's just a major wake-up call. I mean, I was speaking to the native Hopi elders, and they were telling me about how they were concerned about some of the prophecies and, and the disasters that were to come. And I said, they're only told to you just to get you to act at just the right time. It's motivation. If I told you, for example, to move out of that chair, probably wouldn't really listen, but if I told you to move out of that chair, because if you didn't, a rock would fall from the sky and hit you on the head, you might want to move. So that's really what it is, and we have to understand there's missing pieces, even like people who are getting visions of the future, and they think it's doom, and destruction, and they're terrified. I want people to understand the reason you're getting those visions is because you are from a future reality probability where that did happen. And you've been sent back to avert it. And it's been, you get these visions as a reminder of what you need to be, remember and correct. Doesn't necessarily mean this is it, because humans are their own self-fulfilling prophecy. This is very exciting, because I know we're going to make it. Because we have experimented and explored so many probabilities. I've been taken to and shown all the future that they have we have experienced and tested out. So it's almost like my brother when he plays a video game. He's wasted a lot of lives, right, learning what works and what doesn't work. He also has help from the people who created the game, which are called cheat masters. You can call them angels or guides or whatever you want to call them. And they're walking him through the process. The boss is always the most, challenging of all, right? But he's well equipped now, and we're more awake and aware, and there's so many more coming to the planet, even more awake and aware, more gifted. It's really exciting. It's a unification where we no longer have to hide, where we recognize ourselves in each other. Will be a galactic family reunion, and not necessarily ships coming from the sky with alien beings coming forth, but the veil lifting where, we're only using 30% of our eyes, so there's a heck of a lot that we can't see, but once that changes, we're going to see, our loved ones in their cosmic form. In our own family, not necessarily, the way people are. It's closer than we think, let's just put it that way.
Well, speaking of being closer than we think, many people seem to be pretty much affixed to the date of December 21st, 2012 as the window, the period of time that things will actually start to shift. But how do you feel about that? We're in it now, aren't we?
I find that really interesting. Yes, we are in the age of Aquarius as of Valentine's Day. How romantic is that?
Really?
That's the ultimate, I think. Yeah. The cosmic love for you, for the whole planet, But it's interesting because the Mayan calendar technically says that it's 2011 right now, because we are operating with a Gregorian calendar, which is very messed up and inaccurate. And a lot of people are waiting for 2012 as if let's wait and see what's going to happen, okay? But it's not about waiting for it. It's this isn't about waiting for Christ or waiting for someone to come and give you all the answers and fix everything. You were brought here because you are the answer to your prayers. You saw what was going on there, and you said, bring me down there. I know I can do it. I know I can get past the veil. You're almost like given like the video game. You're like, no, I can do this, and I'm not leaving until I get it right. So I find that it's really interesting, people waiting to see when, if you're going to wait, then you're going to miss the whole show. It's like there's three kinds of people, people who watch it happen, people who make it happen, and people who wonder what the heck happened.
Absolutely right. That's a good one. I like that.
And if people are worried about, one more thing. Sorry, sweetie, I keep interrupting you. It's just because I'm excited. I have so much I want to say.
Oh, just keep going.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to say about people concerned about the financial situation right now in the economy and possible martial law, or what I like to call martial blah. It really is, let them take all of our money. We weren't born with money attached to us. No trees grow any money, fine. It's more so about us realizing that we have everything we need, and that all that other stuff has complicated our life for such a long time and kept us in a spell, a daze, not knowing what the heck's going on. And it'll be very liberating. It will almost, what I get is, the movie How the Grinch Stole Christmas, where the Grinch steals everybody's Christmas presents, and he thinks everybody's going to be sad, but instead they're all smiling and holding hands. And then the Grinch is like, what? They're not sad at all. Then he comes down and joins the celebration as well. That's what it will be like.
Wow, that sounds good to me. Well, what we seem to be missing out on a lot of is the love for one another and the connection to one another and the connection to nature and all of creation.
That's the beautiful thing, because, nature doesn't lie to us. Nature doesn't try to control us or exploit us or anything. It's pure, like your children as well. And it's really interesting when people say, oh, this is a cult, this new age kind of thing. I'm like, well, what are you going to do when every single child in every different belief incarnates and is talking about the same thing, memories of past lives, future lives, multidimensional lives, speaking about angels and nature spirits, and then some are incredibly gifted and incredibly psychic, and telekinetic. What are you going to do? You can't dispute the universal truth, but it's incredibly vast as well.
Yeah. Well, and there is, many books have said that the children will lead the way.
Absolutely. Only one that possesses the heart of a child may enter the kingdom of God. So it's not just the children, it's also us accessing our inner child, balancing our masculine and our feminine and our left and right brain, not playing favorites or choosing one over the other, because parents know that what happens when they choose one parent over the other. One child over the other, it becomes holy hell. And so why are we doing the same thing to God? Choose my belief, choose me. No, I'm right. I had a dream about that when my fingers were all battling and saying, arguing, saying, I'm the right path. No, I'm the right one. I'm like, this is silly. You're all important. And all of you lead to the palm, the same place, sooner or later. How can you choose one over the other?
Yeah.
You'll never have peace.
What about the balancing of the light and the dark? How much dark do we need to incorporate? And, what's going to happen to those who are, have their own dark agendas for all of mankind? Will they just simply vanish, or will they wake up and smell the coffee, or...
Some will be taken off the planet, but I really, that's one theory, but I really see it more as, with us awakening, they'll be awakening too, because we'll be in unconditional love, meaning it will be balancing our light and our dark and embracing that. It only becomes really intense and harsh when we're fighting it and we're hiding and we're denying it. But the more honest and real we are with ourselves, all they really are is just a mere reflection of ourselves, or what we do not want to see nor admit. And we've been telling ourselves that they're bad, and they've completely affirmed this belief. I am that I am. I am whatever you say I am. And so the more that it's also like the 100 monkey effect too. Like as a light worker, I'm here not just for the other light workers and star seeds and crystal children. I'm also here for the sleeping people. My heart goes out to them. I remember sleeping and what that was like and how scary it is and how alone you feel and how depressed. I understand it. I have a lot of empathy for them, and I don't mind, being patient and helping them along to understand and finding new ways to articulate something to help them understand and grasp. And I'm also here for the Illuminati because they're also family. You know, I don't know if you've seen the movie, Disney movie Lilo and Stitch. They have this saying, Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind.
Huh. I like that. I like that.
They're all pieces of the puzzle. It just depends our relationship to it. And see, we've been torn in duality for such a long time, thinking good and bad, right and wrong, and, you know, that happens to us at a very young age, and that really, you know, devastates our consciousness and our connection to the divine. Mm-hmm. It's just so backwards. You end up, you know, living life, and, you know, live spelled backwards is evil. Live your whole life not in your full potential. Lived spelled backwards is devil.
Oh, yes. No kidding. And, of course, part of the problem has been the heavy veiling that we undergo when we come in. And as you said, the newer kids, the crystals and rainbows and the rest, and even walk-ins, come in with a lot less of that to cause them to forget. In other words, their memories are more intact, and they are holding on to them, and they understand things better.
Oh, their memory's intact because of the older generations who've been holding this frequency. Like I said, this acupuncture of the light, situated in the location of the planet where they're at, sends a message to the heavens, and this is almost like a sacred geometry of light, which allows the souls to come forth with more memory.
Wow.
Because as a collective, they can accumulate that. It's almost just like a computer. Once you amp it up, it takes on the old memory and new memory as well. It makes it much more stronger and faster because of what we've learned from our old computers and how they operate.
So it seems that things will be exponentially more intense if that's the case, and more incarnating. Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought. Will there be a turning point when we'll be pretty clear about what's going on? I mean, that we'll know that we're in this
Revelations.
Yeah.
What does that word mean? Come to light of what's unknown. Not the end, but the beginning.
Yeah. I keep waiting for them, and it seems like that, you know...
Don't wait for it. Just start doing it. You know, embody it in every moment. Know you're already there. Because what is time? We know it doesn't exist. Past, present, and future all existing at the same time.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. And we're not...
It's really just being a disservice by waiting.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right.
And that's one of our little tricks and traps, and that's something for us to, you know, be savvy enough to catch on to. And figure out, because of all the patterns of how many times we've done this.
Oh, yeah.
There should start to be, you know, the deja vus, the reminders that keep us on track to this certain probability of victory.
Mm-hmm.
Graduation time.
Oh, yeah.
And then when graduation time occurs, and the planet will no longer be quarantined, because the planet's been quarantined as an alien ant form for quite a while, and the reason of that is because we're just not responsible enough, you know. We'd go out into these other worlds, and we'd probably do the same thing that we've done to our world, you know. We don't take care of each other. We don't have the understanding that, you know, tribal cultures have had. Like Bali, it takes a whole village to raise a child. Did you know that in Bali? If
no, I did not.
A baby is born there, the whole tribe comes to greet the baby, and they don't put the child down for 2 years. And these children don't grow up violent or at all. They're very peaceful and gentle. And when asked where they got that idea from, they said they got it from the dolphins, because the dolphins do the exact same thing when a child enters the world. They come from all over the ocean to greet this new baby dolphin. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what that would be like if we did that in our little communities?
Oh my God, it would be so different.
It's not just on the parents.
Yeah, and we can do that.
We can. It's super easy. I mean, this situation that we find ourselves in, which seems so scary, is just trying to get us out of the survival of the fittest, every man for himself kind of mentality, and to bring us together. Look, we're all in our little individual houses, our individual little lives, and we're lonely, yet we're surrounded by people all the time. Don't you think there's something wrong with that? I mean, we're all like, we all come together and work together and use each other's beliefs and truths to complement and complete the bigger picture, you know, rather than putting it down or agreeing to disagree all the time, because that is really, you know, held us back for quite some time, and it's not necessary. It really isn't.
Yeah.
It's just fear and insecurity and us wanting to defend that in darkness, because if you're sleeping and you're enjoying the darkness, and then someone comes in and turns on the light, your immediate reaction is to dive under the covers back to the comforting darkness again.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then, of course, the ego is a bit involved with that, too, the clinging to be right and so on and so forth. So
I'm right and everyone else is wrong kind of mentality.
This is so many problems today.
And pointing fingers, everyone's fault but mine. Yeah. But like children, I can understand why we've been called children for so long.
Well, I can surely understand why we're quarantined. With all the horrible weapons that we've developed. And I was just reading online the other day that the military wants to weaponize space by 2025, and they've already they're already doing that with the chemtrails overhead. On a daily basis, they're spraying those chemicals in the air, and it just goes on, and genetically modified food, and it just never seems to end.
Oh, it will. With these weapons that they're talking about, first of all, they're bombs and they're missiles. Most of them are deactivated because our star family has deactivated them. Conscious souls on the planet, young children have been able to deactivate them.
Wow.
And all they have basically is to just tell people that they have the bomb. The people don't need to know anything, else about it. It will send enough to give them in a frenzy and more, able to control kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's like a bluff. And I mean, they're wanting to do all these things because they're basically caught on an addiction. This is their cycle. This is what, their reality that they're going towards of what they think is right. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's again like you just got to help them with their addiction. Got to help them to. That's what I see it as. If they're addicted to fear and hate, if that's their food. Then they'll find out in Monsters, Inc., the monsters that were getting energy off of the people who were, off of the children's fear. Right? Remember that?
Oh,
I refer to a lot of cartoons, and then in the end they find out the child's laughter is a lot more stronger. But they're just basically trying to battle to have their own paradigm, their own reality, but it's not going to happen. They're still they're playing it up as much as possible because this is a really interesting life where nothing is what it seems. And it's just wanting us to take responsibility and step back into our power and realize, in Wizard of Oz, wait a second. You're just this old man behind the curtain, and I have all the power all along. Oh, my goodness, right?
Yeah, I love that movie. And I think you're right. I think that really pretty much sums up how it really is. And all that fear and the scariness and having to kill the witches and go through all these different things, and it turned out that they had the power all along. That's quite a wonderful esoteric story. Now, are you traveling now? Have you been traveling around lately? And are you finding more and more starseed and like-minded people all over the world? I mean, does it seem like are you meeting them?
Oh, yes, constantly, every day. I'm going to Hawaii on Monday, and then I'm heading back out to Sedona for the gathering of the elders from all over the world. But it doesn't matter where I go, I tend to run into them, even in the most unlikely places. And they usually recognize me. They say, they know me from a dream that I was in their dream as a dream guide. Wow. Only they said that was when they were 5 and they're 60 right now. So I've been working with people for a very long time. And again, it's just like a family reunion. It's just wonderful. Sometimes we don't even need to say anything. Just look into each other's eyes and just beam. It's great. Very exciting. And, they have, I find that they're psychic, but they just need to trust themselves more in it. Really, everybody is psychic. The only reason some can do it and some can't is because of trust and fear, right? Because a lot of times I find if I get something like a yellow house with purple flowers and a gravel driveway, that doesn't make any sense to me. But if I have the guts enough to tell the person next to me, that was the house I grew up when I was a kid, and, immediately triggers all these things and they're able to heal. So we have to be brave enough to share these messages with each other because it's not meant for one person to have all the answers and to be the savior and fix everything. It's a co-collective, co-creational process, meaning each person has a piece of the puzzle that is valid. Each alien race has a piece of the puzzle and is valid. Each animal and insect has a piece of the puzzle and is valid, and each one needs to work with each other.
So you would probably be, in terms of there being some kind of religious second coming of Christ type of thing, you would probably, I'm guessing you would probably say that we will be at a Christ consciousness as a collective.
Yeah, it's like the Hopi say, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Right. But there is no savior that's going to swoop down, whether he be an E.T. or a return visit from, good old Jesus.
Well, just think about that for a second. It's been a little bit dangerous thinking about that, don't you think? I mean, how do you really grow? Like, as a parent, if your child keeps getting into a mess and you keep bailing them out, how do they really learn? You're like, no, you got yourself into this, you get yourself out of it. I have full faith and trust in you that you can do it. Yeah,
that's a good point. An excellent point.
And the more we look outside, the more problems we draw. The more we look inside, the more clarity we have. Soul archaeology.
Yes, you said something that I wrote down that I really liked. You said that I'm paraphrasing, that all of our battles are being within, and that the world mirrors that chaos. And
that's correct.
Oh, good. And I totally agree with that. That, what we are within is projected, quote, out there, unquote, but there is no out there, except our projections.
Well, there's the left brain. Continue, sorry.
Nothing is as it seems.
There's the left brain and the right brain people. There are people who are like, no, it's all logic, it's all the physical, that's all there is. And so we have these constant contradictions going on in our mind, and we're bouncing from one side to the other, our masculine side to our feminine side, and it's very, difficult. It feels like this major war and struggle, and there's just no peace inside. Our mind is just constantly, going on and on and on till we're very overwhelmed and tired, even though we haven't done much throughout that day. And it was really neat. I came across this when I was wondering about, why everything is a mirror and how is it possible everything can be a mirror. And then my guide said, well, if you look at, what is the original mirror but water? Okay, and if you look at a lake and the water is disturbed, what kind of image will you get back of yourself and the world? It will be distorted like a funhouse mirror. That's right, distorted. So, but if that water is clear, then you will have a clear view of the world and yourself as well. And, not most of our body is made up of water as well. So what we're looking out of through our eyes, are we looking out, if our mind is really, busy and disturbed, then the view will be distorted. But if, in order to make peace, you make peace within, and it will be mirror reflected, projected outside. And other people will pick that up very strongly. And all over the world, in Japan, Australia.
Wow. Everywhere.
That's right.
Wow.
Inside the planet, it also projects outside the planet in other worlds. They're very much aware of what we're emanating, because if our body is a microcosm version of the planet, the planet also has chakras and aura as well. That is emanating by the collective of our thoughts and feelings. So they are well aware of what's going on here.
There's some people in the New Age community talk about Earth moving up through the fourth density and then shifting up to the fifth. Is that something that an idea that you work with, or do you have any intuitive feelings about that, or inside knowledge about it? I mean, is Earth
sorry?
Is Earth evolving in that sense? Or is that just what would you say about that?
We're going from the third dimension, which is pretty much physical, like the ice cube, to a fourth dimension, which is very much the etheric, astral, dream, to the fifth dimension, which is a collision of dimensions and time and space. It's why people can't measure the calendar after, like, figure out anything after 2012. Because time is not measured the same way as it is here. It completely changes. It's almost like we've been going off of time by an hourglass, but actually it's a diamond. You know, from the tip to the bottom, it's one, and then expansive in the middle, and then back to one again at the top.
Wow. So, in a sense, we will be able to experience our oneness again. That we, you know, as opposed to being fractured or fragmented divine sparks or souls, we will experience our unity with all that is again.
Correct. See, the only reason we have nightmares is a great opportunity, a gift, to allow yourself to deal with it in the astral etheric first. If you run or fight, it will follow you into the waking life, and now you have to deal with the living nightmare, particularly if a collective of people have been doing this for many, many years who have not been taught about that. Right? But once you're able to understand and master that, then you merge the waking world with the dream world where you can't tell the difference between the two anymore, and then you go back from whence you came, back to what you knew when you were a child. When you're born, you know exactly who you are and what you came here to do, and then the conditioned programming sets in, and then you completely forget. But so it's a circle. You go back to that, and so that is the fifth dimension, and, you know, all kinds of incredible things go on in that state of being, such as bilocation and traveling to other worlds, understanding the nature of the dimensions, in between dimensions, and so forth.
That sounds so wonderful. I mean, it sounds like you know, I can't wait to experience those things. And it's almost like it's a memory of how things were, and I want to hurry up and get back to the fun stuff again, you know? So, a
memory from a dream, like a movie you've watched 20 years ago, and some parts are pretty foggy and other parts are deja vu. Hey, I know this part. Hey!
Interesting.
Oh, yes, I also wanted to say about people worried about the end of the world and just total destruction. If we are light and love, and this is all a hologram, how do you destroy a hologram? You can only be, like, kicked out of the program for a bit. Like you're in a virtual reality program and you have the helmet on your head. All you see is the program. You can feel alone, but if you take off a helmet, you'll see all your guides and all these other people who've already played the game already with you, right? But, I mean, once you beat a video game, you don't want to go back and play it again. On to the next thing, right?
Right.
So I just find it really funny, the things that people say about these times, because they're just they're going off of without fully understanding the nature of our universe.
Sometimes I wonder if the ancient monuments play any part in our remembering, like the pyramids and you know, some of the ancient stones that are and temples that are around the globe. Do you think that there's any significance to those things, or is it just, if there is significance, you'd find it for yourself, and maybe there isn't?
There are definitely significance to them. They're really built on chakra points and sacred points on the planet. Activations, triggers of memory. When the time comes, we'll know exactly how to operate and work with such things as a pyramid and understand why, you know, they're the exact same, you know, kind of pyramids are on the moon as well, with the exact same measurement and coordinates.
Yeah, and Mars.
So, they're there to kind of remind you that even though you're sleeping and you don't remember everything, there are certain things that are holding you and anchoring you to the deeper you, who you really are. And it's kind of confirmation. I like the idea of when I wake up and I know that the pyramids are still there and the Sphinx and all that, because it's confirmation. Okay, you know, this is the illusion. I'm aware, and these are the reminders that bring me back to that.
I wanted to ask you also about stargates. There are some people who are working with a theory that there will be more and more stargates opening up as we, you know, as this process accelerates. Is that something that that you would know anything about?
Well, stargates, there are like things like the Bermuda Triangle. There are certain areas in the world, and I believe there's one in Iraq as well, that are stargates. Not only that, certain people are living stargates. I've met them. The universe is actually a fabric, and it's certain parts are folded up, so we can't see certain stars and planets, but as we're heading towards the shift, it will unfurl, and we'll almost find ourselves in a different universe. And those also will have some galactic stargates for us as well.
Wow. Could that also relate to the idea that we're moving or tilting into the galactic plane as we approach 2012, and that we actually will tip into the other side of it for the first time?
Yes, that has to do with the photon belt.
Okay.
The photon belt is the great central sun. It's like source, if you will. It's and we're in the photon belt could be its aura, let's say, and we're heading closer and closer into it. And when we're completely enveloped by it, and that's when everything changes. Oh,
good. Good. That sounds wonderful. And another thing that people do bring up, and again, these are just a lot of ideas that are floating out in the ether. There's a lot of talk about Planet X or NIBURU returning to cause some kind of disruption, or that it's connected to the Anunnaki owning the planet and so on and so forth. I know you know most of these things because you've read a lot about them and you know them intuitively too. Do you think that there's any accuracy about a dark planet or dark star that's somehow coming back or returning into our orbit?
Well, when we start to become like a tree, which is live half in light, half in dark, in perfect balance and harmony, any other beings who still want to play a game of like separation, this is what it's about, where there's to be taken onto Nibiru kind of a thing, or even like the darker beings. But I don't buy this. I think this is an old paradigm of a future reality, probable reality that has been averted. Because it can't, we have to all stay and work together as one. It's not about, leaving and going off or thinking that, we can just start all over again somewhere else when, like, we're here to clean the mess.
Yeah. Now, won't there be
I think it's just more fear-mongering.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I get about it, too. Now, won't there be some people, some individual souls who choose to continue on rather than ascending into a higher density to continue on with a 3D experience? Let me
put it this way. If you were born and knew you were a prince, and then you were told you weren't, and you felt like very upset and depressed because you know who you are. No, you're not. You're crazy to believe that. So eventually you believe what everyone tells you. And then it comes back that you're a prince. And there's all these incredible things that you can do and who you are. And if it speaks to your core being, I don't push my truth on anyone. I just speak to that part of them that knows in their heart of heart who they are. Why would anybody want to turn that down? And how can anybody be left behind of saying that they're not ready? Because aren't we all one? I mean, am I not you and you not me?
Yep.
How can there be past lives in that sense, too? Because how many people believe they were Cleopatra, right? I mean, because billions of cells in our body at that time, it's very possible that more than one person could be that, because actually we're one. I mean, the past life concept was just something to help you guys understand a deeper, vaster concept of all the other lives of, in the future and in the other dimensions. And here, there are many people here who have, their soul is occupying more than one body on Earth right now. And that's why we get sad and we don't know why we're picking up other people's pain as if it were our own, because that's another initiation into our oneness.
Wow. And then we have part aspects of ourselves maybe in other planetary systems and in other dimensions, don't we?
Yes, we certainly do.
Yeah.
And that's the fragment aspect that I was talking about in the interview, where, our concept of time, and how it's an illusion because, even with a camera, with really just a bunch of still frames.
Right.
So, I mean, our guides are really us as well in other realities and in other dimensions, and now they're just all fusing together. I find it really interesting because whenever they speak in like many voices at once in unison. Uh-huh. Like they're already in their oneness.
Wow. Oh, this is also exciting. You know, it really is.
Yeah, I know. Like my father said, and my sister, it's a very exciting time to be alive.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it's most likely going to get even more so exponentially. You know, as
mm-hmm.
more and more people become aware and realize that they can make choices that are, you know, that change them from within, which affects everything, quote, out there, unquote. But you say that you see us as already having made it. You know, that you feel pretty sure that we're not going to fall off the track here and go over.
No, we've done that enough.
Yeah,
we've done that many times already. We're well aware of. We learned, and there's just certain people who would like us to think otherwise, so that you know, the last parting shot that the villain tends to like to do, you know. Just to really scramble you and make you doubt to yourself and the situation. But you guys know this game. And you remember the self-destruction that we've done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're not going to do it again.
No. And there was an Atlantis, yes, and apparently that didn't go over too well. You know, that might have been one of our, you know, moments when we didn't make the right choices.
Zany, do you really think that all these really incredible children that are coming to the planet right now, particularly Achaean, have come here to be destroyed and wiped out? I don't think so. They're here to assist the birth of the new Earth. They're here to, you know, they talk about in the Bible, in the beginning, the lion laid down with the lamb in the Garden of Eden. And it also mentions in the millennium that the lion will lay down with the lamb. See, animals really just mirror us. They mirror our survival of the fittest qualities, and that's why they live the way they do. And aliens actually do the same thing. What we do to our animals and each other, they do to us. Experiment on our animals all the time.
Right.
So when we realize that, when we start to become unconditional loving to everybody and everything in our animals, the animals will mirror that, and the lion will lay down with the lamb, and we will see this.
Yeah, I totally believe that. I just feel it, you know, and I experience it here living in the country. You know, that is my experience. You know, and I treat everything equally, even the birds and the spiders and, you know, my little dog. And I think you're so right about that, all these beautiful souls that are here, like you said, Achaean, with her amazing paintings and things, and she's just one of many, many, many people.
She's the only one that's ever painted a hologram. Hey? She's the only one that's ever painted a hologram of Mother Mary. If you look at it from the front, she looks like a young, sweet girl. If you look at it from the right or the left, an old woman crying.
Yeah, wow, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah. There's the Marshabs, there's just so many. Like, whenever I see babies, they're all totally psychic. They're all speaking to me telepathically. I'm aware of their telepathic communication now, and I help the mother understand that too. Speak through pictures, through their minds, send it to them. They get a lot better response with their children, much more clarity, you know, much more gentleness. These children just need a platform. They need to work with the adults. They need your support. They need your understanding. They need you guys just to let them help you connect with what you already know. But also you got to let them be themselves, because it may not make any sense. I have this one father who contacted me and tells me that his young daughter keeps going up to strangers all the time and puts her hand on certain body parts, and like they feel like they're uncomfortable, like the child puts their hand on the knee or something, right? And they don't understand. And they find out, well, later on that they actually had an illness there or some kind of disease, and the child just instantly heals it.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Oh, yeah, there are so many stories. I could just go on and on. And I also wanted to explain about animals that and people that, you know, this planet is a diversity university in that the other worlds, they don't have this much diversity. They're, you know, they kind of have one animal, one kind of plant, one kind of mineral, and it's not very interesting. And it was all brought here on Earth to learn to how to all get along and work together and find ourselves in each other. You know, when people are fighting, you lock them in a room and you say, you're not getting out until you learn to get along. That's kind of what was done here. Because, you know, only, you know, certain places in the world do certain plants grow and certain animals are. Well, that's too, could be kind of similar to their other world. But, I mean, each animal that, if you see them, I want you to learn to communicate with them via pictures, telepathically. Ask them questions, see if they respond, and they usually do. I'm doing a lot of sharing with that on my forum right now.
Like, where's the forum?
I'm doing insights right now. Oh, it's on my website.
I want to make sure that you mention where your website is so people can find you and connect.
JessicaMystic.ca.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah. and then I have a lot of the YouTube videos as well. I'm trying to link them to my site, but I'm still learning with the technological aspect of these things.
Well, you're doing a great job on it. You're doing a great job, and definitely, you know, you're an inspiration for all of us, you know, because your energy and your message and just the truth of it. You know, it just comes through. That's what I got so much out of that beautiful interview at Project Camelot. Was just I just felt like I was watching, you know, pure truth and beauty speaking to me, and it was a very moving experience. You know, because we do know the truth when we hear it. You know, we know it in our hearts. We don't have to go looking in a book to find out if what somebody's saying is the truth. We just know. And,
see, that's why I'm on the fence about writing a book, because I don't want people just to go from one spiritual book to the next and thinking that spirituality is just in a book. It's in every single moment. If you can't find spirituality in a cookbook, in your sock drawer, under your bed, you know, you still have a lot to learn. Like, people are constantly looking and reading and hoping to find answers when they just need to embody it and live it in every moment. It's like the game of pretend. Let's pretend I am love. And, well, actually you are. But then you find out, you connect with this deeper level of yourself. And, you know, it's just what the children did. That game pretend is very, very, you know, divine.
Absolutely. And, of course, using our imagination, too.
Imagination is the bridge to the other realms.
Wonderful.
And that's how I actually started speaking to my guides. At first, you know, I just imagined I could talk to them. And then one day I actually got a real answer. It wasn't me anymore, like it was like this whole higher level of parts coming from like this other aspect of myself, of things I couldn't possibly know.
Wow.
I mean, they are the ones that helped me bring clarity with all the information that my father gave me in these books and stuff like that, like, because I didn't understand it. I wasn't reading it for information. I was reading it to, what's the best way to explain this to people without scaring them? How can I make them, like, help them feel more comfortable? You know, how do I, and then I just realized that you just really, the more honest you are and the more you allow a person to be, that they, you know, take away all their masks, all this smoke and mirror show that they constantly do, like constantly, you know, people telling you what they think you want to hear, and just letting them share whatever they want. If they want to cry, that's fine. I'll probably cry with you. If you want to be angry, that's fine. Use me as an emotional vomit target. I'm not going to take it personally and, you know, be upset with you later. Just share. Share for the sake of sharing. Let it all out. And this is why we're in, again, so much discord and so much right now. It's because it's purging. It's like everybody's vomiting, and it's like cleaning out the closets, letting everything come to the forefront now.
Wow.
So that we can finally heal and deal with it. Like, because all those other lives have been running from it. Like, you know, in the Bugs Bunny cartoons, when he tries to escape the hunter, sometimes he puts on a fake mustache. You know, and a hat and a Western outfit, and points to the flood and says, he went that way. That's what we've been doing to our darkness, to that part of ourselves that we've been hiding from.
That's right.
The misunderstood.
Yeah.
Because it's all arbitrary costumes, like all the different forms we take on in past lives.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, we're
you can run, but you can't
hide. Is there anything that you want to share with us as the last parting thought or anything before we have to go?
I think I got to say everything, which I was so happy. Thank you, because the Project Camelot interview, I didn't get to say everything I wanted to say, so I just sent it out through my eyes and my vibe and my heart, and it was like, oh.
Well,
so thank you.
It definitely got said. And thank you, Jessica. I really loved having you on the show, and I would love to have you back again, too, because it's just such a wonderful and uplifting message, and we all need to be reminded, and it can't be said enough. So I just thank you and wish you the best in everything you do. And since you're me, and I'm you, and that's a very sincere wish. And you're welcome back on the show anytime.
Thank you. I'd love to be.
All right.
Return.
And we're out of time. And so thanks again, Jessica, and thank you, listeners. And this was another Fireside Chat, and we'll see you next week. Good night, Jessica, and good night, everybody.
Good night, and play lots.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. A certain kind of light and frequency for the planet, goes right into the core and then right out into the heavens, which is a language, the language of light, which allows the younger souls to incarnate with a lot more conscious memory, not so much in the amnesia veil, and a lot more empowered. It's like the whole of humanity is working as a collective team by each experience that we choose to have. But I just really admire the older generation because, they didn't have internet or things like that. So in the time when it was very taboo, they had to hold this kind of thinking. So I think that's really awesome.
Yes. There's one person in particular, Gerardus, who's in my Yahoo group. And he's in his, I think, 70s, maybe even 80s now, and he awakened about 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's because of people like that were allowed to be on this planet at this time.
Yes, it's quite an honor and a privilege. Now, there are some special abilities that may or may not arise with those labels as well. Is that accurate as you awaken?
Oh, absolutely, because, it's really interesting because it's very normal in the nature world. It's only paranormal for us. Mm-hmm. So it's our birthright. We were born with these special abilities as well, but we never have them really nurtured. Mm-hmm. And so they get suppressed right away, and we get taught, to be very afraid of it as well. Because we incarnate with this not very good idea of self and who we are,
Absolutely. Absolutely right. And then, of course, there's so many beliefs and taboos. Well, I mean, just a matter of 100 or 200 years ago, they were burning witches at the stake. So there hasn't been much acceptance or tolerance for those who see or think or feel or intuit outside the box.
Yeah, most people have had to hide it and be really clever about how, the best way to hide it and still be true to themselves as well.
Mm-hmm. There was a movie by Spielberg called Contact, and I think that kind of sums up, that kind of gives you a really good idea of what a crystal child might be like, with the intuitive abilities and just the knowingness and the wisdom. And she was just a little girl, and she also developed some special abilities during the movie, but that was a really good movie for learning about all of this.
It's always just the tip of the iceberg, though. We're just getting the introduction as to...
Welcome, Jessica, to the show now and get to find out more. Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Hi, Lance. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, I'm curious how you got the name. I'm just going to start out with your name. How did you get the name Mystic?
Well, that was actually when I was trying to figure out an email address for myself, and I was about 14 at the time, or 15, and the word popped in my head, mystic, and I didn't really know what it meant at that time. I thought it meant mysterious, and it sounded really cool, so I went with it, and little did I know that I was going to become a mystic, or it was something destined. It's really funny how that works, and the fairy godmother. Pardon?
I love that.
And the fairy godmother Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just also, the other title, the fairy godmother, is just kind of when you come into your oneness and your infinite nature, your potential. It's almost like you're a child on Halloween and you're told you can be anything you want. And you're like, anything? Even a purple giraffe? And so a fairy godmother, I feel, is really liberating right now for a lot of people, particularly because I have a strong desire to just nurture the planet, motherly even to my own mother.
Wonderful. And, of course, we both share the same last name, Mystic, so we're in the same family.
You are tuned in to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. Join us now on another exciting metaphysical journey. Relax, tune in, drop out, and take a seat by the fire as we explore new realms and possibilities. This is Magenta Pixie. You can find me at magentapixie.weebly.com. But now, here is Zany Mystic and guest. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, and welcome back to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. I'm your host, Lance White. Tonight, I'm delighted to have Jessica Mystic as my guest. Jessica came to my attention through the wonderful video interview done by Project Camelot, titled, A Crystal Child Speaks Out. Jessica is a spiritual counselor and mentor. She is also a self-described fairy godmother who travels all over the world looking for fellow star family. She empowers them by letting them know that they are not alone in how they think and see the world. She also helps others remember why they incarnated on the planet at this time. She connects them with others of like mind who have similar missions. Many of us here today are starseed, indigo, crystal, and many other labels, which simply means we're here to help in our own unique ways. So let's...
That's right.
Okay. For the listeners who might not know as much about indigos and crystals and starseed and walk-ins and the rest of it, I thought maybe we could just talk for a little bit, briefly, about the differences and why this has been documented back now for decades, when it first started happening decades ago, and why we are here at this time.
Okay.
Is that a good starting place?
Yeah.
I know, because I think that the indigos came in first, didn't they?
Yes, they did. But, an indigo can also change into a crystal child as well. Mm-hmm. That's my own personal experience. I found that some indigos, they're the ones that are the system busters, and they incarnate with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They are also, I see a lot in gangs as well. And that's just, a lot of their anger that they're working towards transmuting. And then once they do, then they go into this unconditional love state. Then they go into crystal, which is basically a merging and balancing of all the chakras.
Okay. And then, of course,
I think,
stars. Go ahead.
Oh, and I was just thinking about the older generation has been really key in anchoring